Hi, everyone. Welcome to the TimingResearch.com Crowd Forecast News, episode number 312 for September 20th, 2021. We are recording this live at 1 p.m. Eastern Time. My name is David Kosmeter. I'm the creator of TimingResearch.com, and you should be seeing my screen right now. And I will be talking about the S&P 500 starting off and a bunch of other stuff today. So you'll see, I'll pull up charts related to what we're talking about. And today I've arranged for Wally Olopade and Alaina Nicole to join us as guests, and the option professor is back to moderate. So I'm going to go ahead and turn it over to him.
Okay, great. And thanks everybody for being here. We've got a very active day on this Monday, obviously a big sell-off overnight that extended here to the morning so far. So let's get our guests' ideas on what's going on and answer some other questions as well. Before we get started though, let's get a little more acquainted with our guest. Wally, could you give a little background on yourself?
Wally, I think I mispronounced your name again. Can you,
No
say it again for me?
It's Olopade, Wally Olopade.
Olopade, okay.
I usually tell people just go with Wally O. If you,
okay.
I'm going to go with Wally.
There you go.
Anyway, Wally, please, if you would, give a little background on yourself and what's going on at your firm.
Yes, absolutely. So I started Right Side Trading, and founder of Right Side Trading. The biggest emphasis of what we focus on is trying to figure out what's going to happen on the right side of the chart, hence the name Right Side Trading. We've been doing this since 2013, started actively teaching our methodology by 2015, 2016. The biggest thing that we do is we are more swing traders. We're not day traders, we're more swing traders. And so our plan is to plan out a whole quarter in advance is what we do. So we look for stocks where we can get into them and get out by the end of the quarter. So everything we do is quarter to quarter basis. So far, everything is looking good. And yeah, that's what we do.
Okay, great. And Alaina, a little background on yourself, but also what's going on at your company?
Yeah, thank you. So I'm the co-founder of Options Bay and also Investing Bay. And we pretty much just teach women about the stock market. And right now we're like getting into like live classes and things like that, but I predominantly scalp. So thanks for having me today.
Sure, great. And it'd be good to hear you guys' insights on what's going on. We have some standard questions we ask on a Monday, so I was going to get into those right away. The first one is the S&P 500. We opened today at 4402. And I'm using SPX as a reference. So 4402 ballpark was the opening, and obviously we're about 70 points lower than that. So you got a little head start. From today's opening till Friday's close, do you think we'll be lower or higher than 4402? And we'll start out with Alaina here.
So I want to say lower, but I think it's really going to come down to Wednesday and what comes down from the FOMC and House press conference. So I think we might move sideways until at least Wednesday.
Yeah, using 4,400 as a reference point, though, do you think it would be higher than 4,400 or under 4,400 by Friday, even with whatever they say Friday?
Probably below, honestly. The spot needs to cool off, I think.
Yeah, because I mean, if we have a bounce back rally, to go up to go higher than the opening would be quite a task at this point. You never know, though. And as far as your confidence level, you 50-50, 60-40, what do you think?
I would be really surprised to see us at 4,400. Bro, you know, within today or tomorrow, I would be surprised to see us bounce back that high.
So you're like maybe 70% confident it might be lower than 4,400?
Yeah, for sure.
Sure. Okay, Wally, what's your feeling?
Okay, so I would say this, first and foremost, I know you guys, it seems like the chart that you have up here might be the US equities, I'm not sure, but needless to say, at least on my chart, it shows that there's a gap that we have here. So I'm not sure, is this the SPX? Yeah. Okay, see that gap right there on the S&P 500? My guess is that we'll fill that gap somehow, some way before the week is over. And so I'm willing to say there's a possibility that we could reach 4,400 or higher by the end of this week.
Okay, so you think we could get a reversal and probably be fueled by that Fed announcement?
That's correct.
Okay, sounds good. And your confidence level of that is about?
I would say 7.5.
Okay, 75%, good.
Yeah.
Okay, now as far as what technical and fundamental things are you kind of looking at that are going to dictate what the market might be doing next. Alaina, technical or fundamental things that you're looking at?
Yeah, well, on the fundamental side, again, just the FOMC, that really always shakes the market up. And then also just from the technical standpoint, again, I was looking at the weekly chart on the S&P 500 last night, and it's just been ripping. It's really been ripping for, I think it was like 11 weeks green. So I really think this pullback was kind of needed. And then historically, it's always like this in September. So yeah, that's pretty much my take. I think we really just needed this dip.
Yeah, another point that I read was the money flow into equity funds last week was the highest since March. So there was an awful lot of buying that occurred before this drop. And again, maybe some of those people were fair weather friends and they're, coming out already, With regards to yourself, Wally, any technical fundamental factors you want to share with us on what you're thinking?
Sure. So from the technical aspect, it's really that gap play. We have a strategy that we call the Vulture Gap. And the Vulture Gap simply means that you have a gap after a downtrend has been occurring. Usually that tends to signal that we will get a reversal, okay? And so if you actually look back somewhere similar to what we had back on your chart, I'd say if you just go down to where the number 19 is and then just project that upwards, you'll see how the market seems to have been dropping for 4 days. And then on the fifth day, we had a big gap down. And then what happened the very next day after that is we had that candle. So typically that's what you'll see after. Now, contrast that to the one to the left of that between May and the number 17. You'll see another gap over there, but the market was not necessarily in a downtrend, so to speak. So I think from a technical analysis point of view, there's a good chance that, again, this could lead to a reversal back to the upside. That's the technical side. The fundamental side of this is the concept of seasonality. That some people are aware of it, some people are not. But September tends to be a down month, and we will get some type of a bounce right around between the 23rd and the 25th of the month. Now, it doesn't necessarily require that it would reverse back to all-time highs, but at least some type of a bounce that you would get. Sometimes it leads back to all-time highs. Other times it will bounce back halfway and then drop again into October before we hit the bottom in October. So that's another reason why I'm saying, look, I would not count out the fact that we would not only fill the gap, but have a bounce before the end of this week, because the 25th of this month is on Saturday. So kind of like what Alaina was saying about the FOMC, maybe they'll tag that as the reason why it bounced, but from a fundamental perspective, it's just a seasonality move that occurs typically around this week. And that's literally the week that we're in right now.
Yeah. And a couple other factors. I have a 5-year chart where I have a moving average, a 1-year, 2-year, 3-year on the 5-year chart, SMA, and at 4310 area, there is a 24 SMA that comes in, which obviously looks like it could be tested because we're only about 14 points away on the SPX from that level. So it'll be interesting to see that. And also the volume today is probably going to be fairly large. And sometimes when you get a very large volume sell off, the volume dries up and then maybe you get a bounce off of that too. So some moving averages catching it, some, FOMC positivity.
Yep.
And maybe when they, China and Hong Kong are closed today, I understand.
Interesting.
So all of this concern about Evergrande might be overdone. And if in fact the Chinese government comes in and says, we're going to stabilize Evergrande, then a lot of this selling could be leaning the wrong way, at least short term.
Short term.
So there's a whole bunch of things that could happen that could change the story between now and the end of the week. Some of what you mentioned and some of what I just was talking about, because again, like a day like today, it looks like it would never turn around. And then all of a sudden, if you look at, how the news could just change with the FOMC and China's addressing the Evergrande problem and the volume being heavy and then drying up, and then that gap you're talking about. So there is but clearly the sell side is the right side so far today. And
Correct.
actually for the last 10 days, right?
Correct. And that's a very good point that you just made right there. It's like the sell side was already there, which, I was writing a report to my subscribers this morning, and I said, it's one of those situations like which one came first, the chicken or the egg, right?
Yeah.
Because the market has already been dropping for almost 2 weeks now. So now that we've seen this and we say, okay, it's the Evergrande, it might be the debt ceiling that we talked about. What is causing this drop? Now, does it really matter what's causing this drop, as opposed to the fact that, the drop has already been in place for about 2 weeks now.
And you can see that with your RSI, because in May, you had a drop in the market. RSI dipped under 50, but came right back up. Same thing in June, same thing in July, same thing almost in August. This time is different because we did not hold the dip through 50. We actually have accelerated it now to a very oversold 30, right?
Oversold. That's a very good, clear point that you just made right there. When was the last time in the last, 6 months, a year, that we've been in the oversold level of RSI? So again, this is where most technical analysts or most technical investors and traders would say, let's see if we can start buying some stuff over here. It's dipped low enough.
This would be for the aggressive trader, because you are stepping in front of a freight train.
True.
But again, sometimes being aggressive can work out. Yeah, I mean, like I say, you have plenty of things that would be telling you that if the news changes at all out of Evergrande or out of the Fed, this thing is extended on the downside now a bit, at least short term, right?
Yes, I totally agree with that.
Yeah, I'm going to be probably looking at that 43.10 level as a place to defend if I wanted to get aggressive, because sometimes these moving averages can catch the market,
That's correct. And I think, again, even if we don't catch the very absolute bottom, nothing says we have to catch the absolute bottom. We are paying attention. I think that's the key word. And what I'm hearing you say is, look, pay attention to these things, because we start seeing anything that reverses, that shows signs of a bullishness, we might want to start dipping our feet back into the water again.
Yeah. And if we don't hold this 4,300 neighborhood, you don't know where it would end. It could open up the door for 4,150 or something like that,
Absolutely.
Yeah. Are there some markets that you're kind of focused on right now, Alaina, either on your shopping list or just the areas, maybe some sectors? I mean, what are you looking at that you find kind of interesting right now?
Right now, I've really just been focused on the SPY, but like as far as sectors go, I'm really interested in tech. Everything seems like it's going on clearance. So I'm really kind of watching the QQQ and the NASDAQ, and just to see, when they do find their bottom, because I think, that tech bounce is going to be really nice once it kind of finds a bottom.
Yeah. And would you play that in the form of QQQ, or would you do it more in the semiconductor SMH, or, what do you think?
Oh yeah, definitely QQQ.
Mm-hmm.
I like the 3-day expiration. So.
Oh, I got you. So you're doing a little bit of a shorter term play on it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I got you. And I mean, that's getting nailed pretty good here, but not nearly as much, I don't think, as the others as much. Particularly that Russell index is very much getting nailed here. The interest rates dropping is also killing the value trade. A lot of people like the banks and the financials, like XLF.
Yep.
And let's take a look at that. You see that kind of giving it up a little bit here. Yeah. But again, the RSIs are getting pretty low. So that's good if you want to hopefully see something. But the markets have gone from choppy to kind of going down. So
correct.
How about yourself?
So right now, one of the biggest things that our game plan, I should say, is we focus more on stocks that tend to have a seasonal pattern of rallying around this time. EMD is one of those that we are paying very.
So you would be looking more at the semis, maybe, huh?
That's correct. The semis and the techs, so we're looking more of those. Like if you see where AMD is right now, it's almost as if where that line is, you can kind of see the resistance that we had back in 2020. You see that resistance level right there, like double top back in 2020.
Yeah, right.
I mean, I'm sorry, not 2020, 2021,
area,
sorry, 2021.
Okay.
The double top that we have right above 2021. Do you see that?
Yeah.
Yeah. So right now, price is coming close to that level. And so again, this is where we have to watch that area and say, look, Back in, I think it was, August, it broke above that, reached a peak of around 120, pulled back, went sideways, came all the way back down to that resistance level from 2021. And so now that resistance is acting as support. And if that holds in the market, and again, this is all leading into, again, this whole concept of this is when AMD tends to start rallying. Like whoever these investors are, whoever these institutions are that loves buying AMD for the past 10 years, around this time of the year is when they start loading up on AMD. And so if that's the case, and this is not me just making up stuff, anybody can go back in time and just look, you start seeing that price starts rallying between September and October. If that's the case, then we're right at that cusp of things might start changing. And these investors are going to come out of hibernation and start doing something with this type of stocks.
Yeah. I see there has been definitely action at this time frame. Sometime in between the September, December timeframe, there's been some pretty good activity on the upside.
Absolutely.
In the last number of years. And you make a good point about that 100 area, because that was kind of the peak in late 2020.
Yep.
So darkest before dawn would be your concept there, huh?
That's exactly what it is. And actually, if you were to go back to the S&P 500, that's kind of like the same thing too. It's like, when do we have like the darkest before dawn situation? Like I said, we've been dropping for about a week and a half, 2 weeks now. And then now today we have this humongous, drop. It's like, this is the one that spooks people and scares.
Well, I mean, I don't know. Do you guys watch some of the analysts? Like these guys from JP Morgan were on, Kalanovic and some other gentleman who works with him. And then of course, Wells Fargo recently went from 3,800 on the S&P to 4,800 target. And these guys were on the TV saying, that we're going to have this big run up. And Tom Lee was saying it's going to be an everything rally. And he's fairly well followed on CNBC. And obviously that's a lot of powerful people talking about up, and it's gone directly the other 100% direction the other way. So there has to be some, and then I just read that again, the money flow into equity funds was the most since March last week. So that's a lot of people leaning on one side of the boat, right?
That is true. That is true. But at the same time, like you said earlier, it's just temporary, at least for now.
See, I say that, and that's really where you got to hang your hat, is exactly. That are these the evergreen thing could be transitory if China comes in and says we're going to help with reorganization. The inflation numbers are obviously thrown out the window with the commodities coming down.
Sure.
And the Fed obviously, this is tailor made for the Fed. They don't want to hear about having to hike or taper aggressively.
Correct.
So, I mean, this all fits into their plans perfectly because, who's going to argue with them that they better be slow with tapering in this environment? So, I mean, sometimes you wonder if it's a controlled, orchestrated dance, the way sometimes the numbers work exactly into the narrative. You know what I mean?
Yeah. I tend to agree with you on that. I totally tend to agree with you on that. And I think it's one of those things where, okay, yes, if we are wrong, we'll see more data. But again, just from what we see right now, it's like, look, it hasn't really got as bad as it could really get. And so we have to just say, where could the potential reversal areas be? And so, you expect that, because big picture, I mean, if we look at a monthly chart, I'm not even sure if we've taken out the low. We probably just took out the low from last month. If that's the case, that's not really, it's not uncommon to take out the low of the previous month, but, and still.
Well, that hadn't been happening very often, I'll tell you that, because I keep track of that. My ballpark figure last month is 43.64 on S&P. So I guess we have taken that out.
Yeah.
And that would be the first time we've done that in, maybe the February, March timeframe was a little bit like that.
I think the last time we took that out was September of last year. It
might even be, but it was close in February, March.
Yeah, it was very close, but
very close, but no cigar on that one. Yeah. Alaina, I was wondering if you could expand a little bit about your business while we have a little bit of time here. Exactly how do you help women. You help everybody, but you're targeting your women investor more. And like what's the demographic? Is it women between 25 and 35, 45, or is it women who are retired, or what do you think?
Yeah, so our we've got we really started on Instagram, and then we've got a Slack community where we all kind of hang out during the day. We have a little book club. But as far as the demographic goes, I think the youngest person that I have is 14. And then I just had I just had a one-on-one session with the lady. She was 70. So there's a pretty wide spread of people who come together for this.
Yeah. And so you must have some people who want to get more, the older ones might be a little bit more looking for a more conservative strategy type thing,
yeah.
or?
Yeah, we have some people who are planning for retirement, so they're more into the long term. And then we have people who are, willing to do the scalping and the short term trading just to kind of make ends meet. So we have it's really a wide range of needs there.
Yeah, because some of the people doing shorter term trading are looking for more current cash.
Yeah.
Yeah. And with regards to your strategies, do you have any that you're just buying the stock and leaving it alone, or?
Yeah, so my plan, really when I started I just started trading, last year. So the technical stuff didn't come until later, but really my strategy was just, I started with options, which is so bizarre, that I started with options, and my mentor was like, hey, you should start thinking about long term. So now it's more so scalping and then putting that into the long term.
Yeah, with the options, again, you have limited risk and you don't have as much cash demands. So sometimes when you're working with a smaller amount, it's one of the only ways to go if you want to get some leverage going.
Yeah,
and limited risk. So that's why some people like to drift to the options when they're starting out with a smaller amount, and try to build up capital.
absolutely. And the thing with options is there's so many moving parts. And so I don't believe that options are for everyone. But for those who are really disciplined and they can kind of follow a plan, I think options are great. But everyone really doesn't have that discipline, unfortunately. So they are a great option. They're just not for everyone, for sure.
Oh, no, there's no doubt about that. But the question is, what strategies do you tend to gravitate to? Do you do you look at the situation, and sometimes you'll do outright buys, sometimes you'll do spreads, sometimes you'll do near buys. Do you ever do longer term options? Or?
I do swing trade from time to time. Typically, though, I do prefer to scalp, and I use the EMAs. I love the 50 EMA for my confirmation on those directions. And it's just really quick. I'm not in there very long, so I might jump in for a couple candlesticks, and I just do really large volume trades. So
Okay.
I'm not very long.
I got you. And basically, so you'll be doing a weekly?
Yeah, that's why I like the SPY. I typically trade the SPY predominantly just because you have the expiration Monday, Wednesday, Friday, and
Right.
I really like to play off the gamma. The gamma really, really helps a lot when you catch the momentum. So
that, and you need to have good volume, because if you're going in with any size, you can't have the bid-ask spread be very wide, right?
absolutely, yeah, absolutely. And the SPY it pretty much has volume all the time, so that's another good thing about it.
Yeah. On a day like today, is it possible you might do more than one trade?
Oh yeah, I've done multiple trades today. I've been running puts on the SPY all morning.
And are you trying to keep these things on a very short leash?
Yeah, I wasn't actually expecting this SPY. My kind of price target was 436, so I was really surprised this morning when I saw how low it got.
Right.
And so I'm looking now. It looks like it just bounced off. Let's see, around 430, and it's pushing up. So we'll see if it reverses. The SPY kind of likes to reverse midday. So I don't know if I'll rally it or if it'll just reject this 50 again and head lower. So. Yeah.
Again, like I say, the China thing has people spooked, because if China slows down, the world slows down. And again, these PE ratios are not priced for slowdown. Wally, again, do you have any specific stuff that you're kind of doing? Because last time you had a couple of really good stock ones that looked good. I think you were catching the move up on Tesla before it happened, which I thought was great. And I think there was another one or two that we had that we talked about that had a nice move. Now those moves may have been erased, but certainly they had a good move before they were erased. Yeah.
Sure, correct. So again, most of what we do is more longer and swing trade longer term. So we broke down our our strategies into a number of things. One is we try to catch monthly bottoms. So a day like today is perfect for what we do. We're not necessarily buying anything right now. We predominantly more focus on the long side than we are the short side. And so a day like today, we've already been expecting this for, quite frankly, about 2 weeks now. And so we just been waiting for the drop to happen.
Right.
And so now that the drop is happening, we're over here just giving ourselves high fives in the office and say, great. All
Yeah.
right. Now, the question now becomes, when are we going to get that bottom in the reversal? So that is one big thing we do. We look for that literally every single month, because once a month, the market kind of pulls back and you can find that bottom. So that's the first thing, almost like our bread and butter.
Yeah.
Then the next thing is that we also like to focus on IPO stocks. And so IPO stocks that we know are, they've been beaten up, after they went initially, the initial public offering itself. We wait for a little while and we wait for those that have now set some type of a bottom and then start jumping into them. And so, like, for instance, right now, we just started loading up on Doordash, Airbnb, and, today, even with the market not doing so well, they hold it up on their own. And so
Yeah.
stuff like this, we tend to hold these ones a little longer until they make new all-time highs. In most cases is what we try to do. And so part of our strategy is to focus on that. And then the third is seasonality. We love seasonality.
Mhm.
Okay. And so there's certain stocks that we know every single month that we've studied, that we trade, that we've invested, that kind of just tells us, yes, you have a very good chance of them doing well during this season again. And so those are kind of things that we also focus on. When we combine those three together, something that we can trade every single month, IPOs that we can find. And the reason why we like IPOs is because those brand new IPOs, after they've been beaten up, when they start recovering, they can move pretty well, really, really good. So we love those for that. And then the seasonality is just consistency. They've been doing it for the last 10 years. And the biggest thing we did with seasonality, because when I first started and I first heard about the concept, it made so much sense. But the problem I ran into was always, how do you know if if it's going to do the same thing this year, or if it's going to fail this year? And so we spent a lot of time researching that. And then we came up with a way where we can minimize our error rate on seasonality stocks that are likely to not succeed, in the most current one. And so once we're able to eliminate those and focus on the ones that they are showing the same signs of what they've done in the past, then we jump on those, because chances are, as consistent as they've been in the past years, chances are they'll do it again this year. So you take those three, those are like really the main things that we focus on. And then, so we teach that to our subscribers and try to help them to see how to see what we see and go with that.
Are you doing anything with these SPACs? I was just going to throw a few of them up on the screen that I've been watching. Actually, these four are actually up on the day.
Okay.
The first one is MACQ. And these are SPACs, I guess, that Palantir has shown an interest in or something.
Sure.
And I just wanted to throw a few of those up on the screen for people to take a look at if we could. The first one is MACQ.
Correct.
If we could get that up there.
Yeah.
And you can see that came up, and was up at 1150 or whatever, and now it's down around 986 or something like that. It's kind of hanging in there.
Exactly. So we're not using this one in particular, but now that you're showing this to me, I mean, this is exactly what we look for. Okay.
How about MAAC? That's another one that's up on the day today. And that's another one, in the same kind of genre of opened up, came down, flatlined a little bit, but is RSI starting to improve a bit, right?
Yeah. So with this one in particular, I mean, just from a quick glance on this one, if it can cross above $10, maybe 10.11 or 10.10, then we'll probably be more interested in that.
And then what about ROT?
ROT.
Uh-huh.
All right. So with the big drop that this had right now, is like, let's let it settle down for a little bit. So we kind of like wait for it to settle down just a tad bit. And most of what we look for on these we look at the weekly and monthly charts on these, not necessarily daily. And so if you look at the monthly chart, you'll see a big wick on that monthly chart. Those are kind of things that's okay. The fact that it has a big wick like that, there's still a lot of volatility going on. For it to be able to drop that much, is usually not a good sign. Okay, that kind of tells us that either one, it's low volume in these kind of things as far as like institutions behind it, or two, it's just, again, for whatever reason.
It actually, it looks similar to the others in that they were all about 11.80 or $12 after they came out, and they all came right back down at 10, which essentially looks like a break-even point. But it is interesting that so far today, there's been not a lot of interest to selling it.
Yeah.
And obviously they've been selling everything,
Yeah.
So, well, looking around at some sectors, Alaina, do you do anything with like energy or banks or industrials, or it's just S&P all the way, huh? And the QQQ. Yeah.
Yeah, I've got some favorites in other sectors. I really like Oxy. I like Plug. As far as banking goes, like in the financial sector, I like Bank of America and Wells Fargo. And I really just look for things that have those nice moves. Either direction, it doesn't matter which direction, but yeah, that's really what I look for. And then those also have really nice volume as well throughout the day.
Yeah. And again, it does look like the banks are rolling over with the RSI kind of rolling over. And again, with the yields dropping, that's not what the banks want to hear. So, we're probably going to have to see some improvement on the 10-year yield for the banks to get back on the bicycle as much. But there are a lot of people who think these things are still very cheap. So this particular one, if it looks like it gets above 47.50, it would be a lot more interesting than the way it is today. You know what I mean?
Oh yeah, definitely. And that's really the cool thing about is like the option side. You can really take advantage of whatever the market kind of gives you. So
yeah. And this one here, like I say, would you use the options on this on your short-term strategies more, or would you be looking a little longer term with this kind of thing, or?
Oh yeah, I would definitely just be using options just because the contracts, they're so cheap. They're so cheap.
Yeah, these options are extremely cheap.
Yeah, so you can really like load up and take advantage. And I mean, most of my trades are like less than 10 minutes. So I'm really not in there for very long at all. I just need that momentum in that direction, and then we're in and out of there.
I got you. Yeah, so basically, you're trying to find some things that are going to make a nice move, keep them on a short leash, and keep the amount out of pocket not too bad. So if you're wrong, it doesn't dent your bank book very much.
Definitely.
I got you. I'm with you now. Let's take a look at a few other sectors, though, because I think the winds of change are kind of blowing here. So let's just put up XLF. That'll give us the financials, because this is all about the value trade that everybody's telling everybody is going to be this lovely thing to be in. And right now, it looks like the last thing you want to be in. This is the financial. Again, it's getting low on the RSI, but that is definitely a gap down, huh? And then what about XLI, which is the industrials? Because I'm going to kind of go over these things so people can kind of get a little bit of an idea of what's happening. This is the industrials, which obviously have been telling you that it's over for a little bit of a time here. Those are weeks now that have gone by while the thing has been rolling over. And now you're getting an acceleration, but you're down at 30 on the RSI. So it'll be interesting to see if it can hold water down here. And then, of course, you've got the materials. I guess XLM would be that, or
XLB.
XLB. Yeah, I use a different ETF, so I'm not familiar. So there's your materials. Copper's going in the tank, and everyone was looking at Freeport-McMoRan, and I was saying that if we can't get above 36, you don't want any part of Freeport-McMoRan. Let's look at FCX. Everyone's, because if they have a housing bubble that's bursting over in China, they're certainly not going to build more.
Sure.
And this one looks like not good. So a lot of people were touting this thing, and my feeling was 36, 37, that area there. If it couldn't get above there, it's not looking very good on that. So there's your value trade. Let's look at energy, because I was kind of optimistic on it, XLE, but that looks like it's given up the boat too.
Yeah, I was with you on that one too.
Yeah. Well, I mean, why wouldn't you? Look at the RSI; it was looking lovely there, and then all of a sudden, again, they hear worldwide slowdown. They're not going to want to be in energy.
Exactly.
Now natural gas could be another story because of these wind turbines aren't working. And so what does natural gas look like up there? Can we get a little graph on that? Oh, just look at LNG. Is LNG doing much? That's a big, natural gas one. Yeah, that's gapping down, but certainly not the same as the other energies. But like I say, these guys who were saying it was going to be an everything rally, they had the everything right, huh? Let's turn towards
That's a good one.
semiconductors, SMH. Yeah. So like I say, they all are breaking the fever. Now the question is the fever going to be broken further or not? But clearly, if you're looking for 280 right now, that doesn't seem like the way it's going, right?
No, not at this time.
None at this time.
Nope. No.
And what about QQQ? All right.
Same thing.
Same thing. And you did have the VIX up there, because I've been a big proponent that, the VIX has not been able to sustain above 20 for a long time, but now it's broken above 20 by a long shot here. Again, though, last time we were up here in May, it didn't hold it very well. So I think watching the VIX might be very key. The high today on the VIX looks like it's about 27 and change. So using that as a line in the sand, if by tomorrow and Wednesday we're not taking out 2750, then maybe you'll get that rally just to fill in that gap at least, or maybe move this RSI VIX more down. And look at that VIX RSI is as high as it was back in January.
Yeah. And one thing I might add to the VIX too as well is it'll be interesting to see, like usually I know when we study the VIX, 2 red candles after a big spike like that is usually a good sign that it's ready to come back down. So,
well, to do a little commercial here, on Wednesday, we have a thing coming up with Timing Research where we're going to be talking about VIX and news event trading. And that seems like a pretty timely meeting. So everybody out there who'd like to learn about that, go to Timing Research and you'll be aware of that as well. But it looks pretty timely.
Turned out to be a good good week for this topic.
Well, I tell you right now, if you want to be bullish, you don't want to hear the VIX is at 35. And if you want to be bullish, you'd like it to do a deal like it did in May, and a deal like it did in January, where the RSI on the VIX goes up to these levels, and like in October last year. So that RSI is in the same neighborhood or getting there as it was at very big turning points. So that's why using the VIX as a indicator worked out handsomely at those turning points that we're pointing out right here. So if you want to be looking for a turn, you want to be looking at this VIX definitely slowing down at this point. Okay, so anyway, turning back towards the other sectors, let's look at the precious metals, GDX and SILJ. Is anybody going into those things? Not too much.
Not really. Not really. GDX, to be honest, has been very disappointing, man. It's like all year long, it seems like it gives you this setup that things are going to get great, and then it just fails you. So not sure what's going on fundamentally with GDX, but it's just been
might be selling us deflation is coming, and that certainly is not in the cards with anybody out there either.
Yeah.
But the RSI has been a pretty good friend to you. It told you basically the party was over in June. And so since June, it peaked through 50 a couple of times, but didn't last. And moving average there was violated a couple of times, but didn't last. And so it's been overall telling you down. Huh? So from that standpoint, what about the silver?
Same thing. It's even worse.
Yeah. Now we've made new lows here, but the RSI is not making new lows. So that divergence might be somewhat interesting. But yeah, so as you go around the horn here, then now what does Europe look like in international emerging markets, EEM? Is that getting nailed? Because that was trying to make a recovery, but yeah, there you go. Yeah. And Europe is VGK, just to use one.
Wow, all this is just doing the exact same thing. I mean, it's like as if the whole market is just in unison.
Now, the guy at Morgan Stanley was saying, who obviously has been saying we're going to get a correction. He was saying 3 sectors might be worthwhile to hide out in. Let's take a look at them. One is VDC, which is your staples. VDC is your consumer staples. Yeah, getting hit too. Nowhere to hide. How about the utilities? VPU. Nowhere to hide there. A little bit stable though, compared to the rest. And then the other one was healthcare, VHT. A little less damage than the other places, but certainly not a profit center.
Nope, not at all.
But yeah, again, it is kind of hard to find any place to hide when they roll over like this. And now we'll have to see. And the other thing is XLY for the consumer, because 2/3 of the economy is consumer spending. So you really don't want this thing taken out 176 or something like that. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Now you were talking about, I think, Doordash, was it?
Doordash.
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 Let's take a look at let's take a look at some of these ones that you're watching.
Yeah.
Well, that's a better looking chart, huh?
Now you see why I like that, right?
I think you found the one-eyed man in the Valley of the Blind.
No, it's doing well, and again, we expect it to take out that all-time high, and just because of what's even happening today, and how the overall market is affected, and the fact that investors are not selling out of this, tells me that when things get better, it just has nowhere else to go but the upside.
And this, I mean, different age groups use this thing, you know what I mean? Correct. And it seems to me that I'm noticing younger guys who don't want to leave the house are constantly calling Chipotle and pizza places or wherever they are buying, and they're having them delivered.
Absolutely. I mean, and it's not just even, okay, so like we were on vacation not too long ago, and, it's the same thing we did. It's like, just how do we order food in? How would you order food in? We're in a new place. We don't know. We don't want to drive. We don't want to do all this kind of stuff.
Right.
It's becoming more and more convenient, but it's not even just ordering the food. When I'm seeing people literally doing their grocery shopping, and
Doordash does that too, huh?
Yeah, absolutely. So people are beginning to use this more and more in like almost everyday life kind of situation. So I don't see this changing. I mean, it's like the new wave, right?
Yeah, I mean, hey, listen, I go to the store and they all blocked off these parking spots for people that are getting delivered. And sometimes I say to myself, I'm ordering pretty generic stuff. You know what I mean?
Yeah, that's.
I mean, everybody knows how to buy Fiber One, right?
Exactly.
I don't have to go in the store to do that, right?
Yeah, we went to Whole Foods the other day and we couldn't find parking for regular people. And it's like, come on, this is not fair. It's like, these people ordering online, they need to get their butts out here. But I'm realizing this is the new way of life.
Yeah.
And so you can complain all you want, or you can learn to join the team in a sense. And so
now this is really taking a market share away from Grubhub. What's Grubhub look like?
That is very interesting. I haven't looked at Grubhub.
And I was thinking Uber owns Postmates too now, right?
Yeah, I think so. Grubhub is GRUB, and it's not doing well, like you said. It's just
okay. So obviously they're the new the way to go. And is Uber doing anything?
Uber's not doing as well either.
No, but it looking pretty good on a day like today.
That's true, though.
If you were in Uber, you wouldn't be licking your wounds like everything else. Yeah, but it also has a very weak RSI. Yours has a very strong RSI.
Correct.
Yeah.
Airbnb, because that's another one that I've been.
Okay, yeah, let's look at that.
We like in this whole traveling that we've been doing, we've been more excited staying at Airbnbs than we have actually.
I see.
At hotels now.
Yeah.
And so this is another one we just bought in. It pulled back a little bit with like the rest of the market, but
yeah, I mean, it's not going to be immune to a pullback like today.
Yeah.
I think also some of the other stuff like Expedia is probably. But I tell you right now, anytime I go anywhere, this is the place I go.
Yes.
Yeah. So this would be my idea of a good time.
Wow.
Well, I mean, everything you get, and they got the best prices.
They get the best prices, and I don't know about any other person, maybe because we've been traveling a lot, so we get a lot of ads and all that kind of stuff. But it's like these guys are like offering stuff left and right, and it's just more for people to travel nowadays. And so for that reason, I've been monitoring even the airlines. I mean, I know that they've been kind of struggling, but with the way that they are making this easier and easier and easier for people to travel. But what I noticed with places like Expedia and stuff like that is they're not just focused on the airline industry. I was talking to my wife the other day, like you might find a cheap ticket to fly somewhere, but you're going to get, clobbered with the rental rates for cars as well as the hotel rates.
Yeah.
And so just keeping that in mind. And I say, the good thing about Expedia is they're not just focused on the airlines. So even if airline stocks are struggling, they still booking people.
Oh, when I go to Expedia, I go soup to nuts. I get my plane, I get my rent-a-car, and I get my place to stay, and plus, anything else I travel related. They're just and the rates that they have are just ridiculous on rent-a-cars.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So I think
No, I'm a big believer in Expedia because I definitely use them.
Excellent.
How about yourself, Alaina? Do you have any specific, little stocks like he just came up with that have some interesting look to them, or what do you think?
So yeah, so I love Doordash. One thing I wanted to add to that was Rite Aid. They actually report earnings this week, and they are listed on Doordash like as a convenience along with like Walgreens and CVS. I know during Doordash's
RAD.
RAD, rad. They mentioned DoorDash pretty much mentioned that having these convenience stores really improve their revenue, and so I was just going to tune into Rite Aid's earnings call this week because I really want to see how them being listed on DoorDash has kind of improved their bottom line too. So the setup isn't really beautiful on the chart, but I'm just curious to see how DoorDash has helped them being listed on there.
Yeah, and if things get a little weird, maybe people want to spend less money. What does Dollar General look like? DG. Yeah,
Wow.
kind of interesting. Maybe. Yeah, the RSI is still lousy, but it is trying to get off the canvas a little bit there, huh?
Yeah.
Hey, listen, on a day like today, I'm sure the breadth is 90-1 loser stocks to winning, right?
Yeah. The only green I had this morning was AutoZone, and it's actually gone red since then.
Yeah. And any other ones you've got there, Wally? You guys probably have scanners that you can pick these things out too.
Yeah, we have scanners that we can pick things out, but again, for the most
AutoZone's doing all right.
Yeah, for the most part, I think other companies like Snow as an IPO stock is something that we're keeping an eye on. We're not in it right now, but we're keeping our eye on that one. So if we were very close to start acquiring that, but then things got caught up with the vacation and all that stuff, we didn't. And so then now I went back today, I saw that it pulled back with the market. Okay, let's give it some time. Let's see. But I think once we hit this bottom, then we would definitely be looking into acquiring shares of Snow.
How about Palantir? Is this just having a pullback or is a party over here, PLTR?
Yeah, so Palantir, I saw that one too. And to be quite honest, up until last week, it looks really good. Today is literally the only day that I was like, okay, let's just pause and see how the market. But if you see how it broke that neckline from June, July area, close above that, that's really always a good sign that this is a stock that is ready to go higher. Okay. Unfortunately, today I felt like, market pullback, it's pulling back with the market. So once the dust settles a little bit, it'll be very, very interesting to look into this because I think it has the potential of not only reaching all-time high, but maybe even going above that to like double that as time goes on.
Yeah, because they seem to be doing a whole bunch of different alliances to get some scale in different areas. And they got government contracts on big data. That doesn't seem like it's going to go away.
Nope.
So they've got great business there. And the guys running it certainly have a success background.
He knows what
and
he's
so, as long as that RSI stays above 50 and the prices stay above about 25, it looks like it looks like a reasonable thing to be keeping an eye on, right?
We definitely are keeping an eye on this one too as well. So that would be that'll be something to watch once the market is ready to rebound. I think we'll get good deals once the market is ready to rebound. And when we do, knowing which stocks to pay attention to would be important. I think Palantir will be one of those.
What do you think of these Kathy Wood stocks like ARKK and ARKG? Is there something there, or they're kind of hanging in there?
It's just hanging in there. Now that's the thing that surprises me. I was looking
RSI looks stinky though.
Yeah, I was looking at that and saying, okay, it should get ready. But then I don't know what's going on. It's just kind of sideways. So after seeing that, I said, look, here's what I want to do. If we could draw like if anybody can imagine a triangle from July to today, like if you connect the lines at the top as a downward sloping trend line, and then the ones at the bottom, is that if we can break out above that, consolidation, then maybe, yes, right there, excellent. Right there. If we can break out above that level to the upside, I'll say, okay, get ready for the market to go up. If we break down below that, I'll say, well, I don't know what's going on with this one. But for some reason, I am waiting. I said, look, just let it get out of that consolidation phase. I don't know why it's consolidating for so long. Before we do anything, let's just wait till it gets out of that consolidation phase.
There's a couple of stocks I just was going to ask if we can put up there to see what they look like. One is Volkswagen. See how the EV situation is kind of looking. And Volkswagen is VWAGY, because they are really supposed to be a good leader. But they're giving it up a little bit here today, too, although that RSI has really dropped, huh?
Yeah, big time.
And what about the electric battery? Because, the lithium one has a lot of trouble. So maybe they're going to go over to the solid state. So PCRFY. Yeah, that's getting it up a little bit too, but it's right down to where it should hold if it's going to hold, right? Because you're at 50 on the RSI and you're right at the former highs, right?
Yep, excellent. I agree with that technical analysis. If it's going to reverse, it should reverse somewhere around there.
Yeah, you're in the neighborhood.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then one last one is supposed to be a very good tech one is Keys, KEYS. And that was something that I liked at 150. It ran all the way up. Now it's starting to come down. So yeah, it went through the 50 number though pretty well. So, but supposedly this has got a good future to it, but the future right now doesn't look so bright.
Yeah, right now. Yeah, that was always it's like we in Florida over here, so we have hurricanes and we have sunny days, and so we deal with a hurricane right now. The good news is every hurricane blows past us eventually.
In the housing area, there's a company called Taylor Morrison, TMHC.
Yeah, Taylor Morrison.
And was starting to have a nice setup, but now I wonder if it failed. Yeah, see, I'm wondering if this is a deal where it went up to 29, it's pulling back here, it's going to stop here a little bit and then go after 29. But again, with that RSI and that trend, you definitely have to give this thing a little time to prove itself, maybe, huh?
Yeah, give it definitely time.
Yeah, which is probably the story across the board.
Yeah.
What's the ITB is the construction deal? So again, like I say, everything's trading under, that's what I said in my newsletter. A lot of things are trading under 50 on the RSI and they're trading under their moving average. And I don't care who you are, that's not where you want to be if you're bullish,
Correct.
And that unfortunately is a theme across the board now. And when we're talking about these bounces, we're just, hoping that the rain stops and it goes the other way, which it can do. But, like I say, it doesn't have to do that. That's for sure. Okay. Well, as we come to the top,
I found out about this one just the other day. It's a global maritime shipping ETF that just was released. I thought it was interesting. You guys have any thoughts about this?
So this is one of those, I wouldn't say it's necessarily an IPO because it's an ETF. And so at this stage, I know like with ETFs, most of those are driven by the shares that are underneath that. So it'd be interesting to see what are the shares that makes up this ETF and find out what's going on with those shares than anything else, But with the way this is dropping again, I believe it's just, again, part of what's going on in the market right now. So to get a good assessment this early on with this, it's a little bit difficult. However, if
the only one I can think of off the top of my head is this one, GSL.
Okay, good.
But yeah, there's about 50 or so different global shipping maritime companies that are involved in that ETF.
Yeah, there's another one that I was looking at, a bulk carrier called SBLK. SBLK. and that was doing great, and that's having a pullback as well. Oh, that's over. Yeah, stick a fork in that one.
Yeah, we actually own shares of this one, and we got clobbered with this last 3 days. Like everything we worked on since August is like literally taken away.
You know, I was in San Pedro at this fish place down there in California, and I was looking at the ships because it's right there at where the ships come in, near Long Beach, and there was a zillion containers sitting there. A zillion. I mean, it seemed like a zillion, and all I was wondering is like, when are they going to like move these things off these piers and get them to wherever they're going? So it didn't look like, and the bottleneck that I saw, it didn't seem like we didn't have the containers. We didn't have anybody taking the containers off. You know, so I thought that was kind of weird. And with the transportation average, if you look at IYT, it looks like there's almost a strike. I mean, I would almost say it seems like there's a strike. Because this thing has peaked out in May.
Yeah.
And I was there like a month ago. So I'm wondering what these people are doing, because it seems like the containers are there. It just doesn't seem like anybody's getting them off the storage areas.
Off the docks. Wow.
So we'll have to see what's going on.
Yeah,
but
as we come breaking down too as well, like you said, I mean, they were doing pretty well earlier this year.
Yeah.
Like once it peaked in May, it just seems bye-bye.
Yeah, I mean, FedEx has been a nightmare, and UPS isn't doing anything. And I think the railroads look terrible. So, but it doesn't seem like there's lack of product there. But as we get to the top of the hour, let's just wrap it up here, Alaina. And again, reintroduce yourself just a little bit, and your website, and how you're going to be helping people learn a little bit more about investing.
Oh, and a little bit about what you are going to talk about for the VIX and news
what you're going
event.
to talk about on Wednesday with the VIX and the news event trading.
Yeah, for sure. Thank you. So yeah, again, I'm Alaina. I'm the co-founder of Options Bay and Investing Bay. I'll be speaking this week pretty much about how I take advantage of the VIX and just really news events and catalysts, and how they can really present some really nice opportunities for scalpers. So I just want to show you guys kind of how to take advantage of the moves in the market. And then if you want to reach out to me, again, our site, we've got optionsbay.com, investingbay.com, and we're also on Instagram under the same name.
Perfect. Okay. And we'll look forward to hearing from you on Wednesday. Wally, yourself, again, a little background and what's going on right side, but also what you're going to be speaking about on Wednesday.
Absolutely. So again, right side trading is always trying to focus on what's going to happen on the right side of the chart. So with the drop happening, our goal is to say, you know, forget what's happened in the past. Where should we be going forward? And are we on the right side of the market? Most of what we do is swing trading with a projection of, you know, quarter by quarter. So we're really looking forward to what the fourth quarter of the year is going to bring us. So as far as like what we'll be talking about when it comes to VIX, I think VIX is very, very important in regards to understanding when money is flowing in and out of the market. And so I'll be touching more on that and how we use the VIX to kind of help us with understanding when the market has hit bottom, so that way we can start getting back once we start seeing money flowing back into the market.
Okay, perfect. Okay, we'll see all you guys on Wednesday. That'd be great. As far as optionprofessor.com is concerned, of course, we have a PDF file on hedging that we send to people, which goes over how to use collars, how to use replacement trades. Both strategies would have been ideal to use before this drop. So that's why you have to know the strategies first. And then when you see these signs that we're employing them make sense, you got to take action. But optionprofessor.com, you can get the weekly newsletter and get these PDF files as well. Okay, I'll be with you also on Wednesday and give you my 2 cents on how I think the VIX should be traded, as well as the events. So stay tuned for all of us on Wednesday, and I'll turn it right back now over to David.
All right, and yeah, just to finish up about the VIX and news event. We are going to be starting at 10 a.m. Eastern time on Wednesday, and Norman Hallett will be the first presenter on Wednesday, and then the option professor will be next at 11 a.m. Eastern time, and then Alaina will be on at noon Eastern time, and Wally will be a little later at 2 p.m. Eastern time, and then we will go until the last presentation should end right at 6 p.m. Eastern. And then we have a whole day again on Thursday. So we'll be starting with Pro Trader Mike at 10 a.m. Eastern Time on Thursday. And Anka Metcalf will be closing out the event at her presentation will end at 6 p.m. Eastern Time on Thursday. So you can always just go to TimingResearch.com/live to get access to the event. And just a reminder too, for in general, you can subscribe to Timing Research on YouTube and your favorite podcast app, or just go to TimingResearch.com to get access to the recordings of today's event as soon as I can get it posted, as well as any of the past recordings or events. So just want to thank my guests again for today. Wally Olopade of RightSideTrading.com.
Correct.
I pronounced it correct that time. Okay.
Yes, you did.
Okay, great. Alaina Nicole of OptionsBay.com and the Option Professor of OptionProfessor.com. Thanks, everyone.